Hello, my name is Chris Melnick, and I'm a realtor in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Today, I'm going to talk about buying a home in Halifax. Now, it is complicated, but the point of this video is to make it less complicated and give you an idea of what to expect, including timeframes, professionals you'll be working with, strategies, and costs. So keep an eye on the tally in the corner. This is to give you an approximate idea of the costs that you could incur when buying a $500,000 home. This is also to let you know at what stages in the process you'll be spending money. Now, other realtors may do things differently, but this is how I think and work. Step 1, budget. Will you be paying with cash or borrowing the money with a mortgage? If you are paying with all cash, you know your budget and you can skip to the next step. But if you're getting a mortgage, you need to be pre-approved. A real pre-approval is different from those quick online how much can you borrow web pages. An actual pre-approval includes pay stubs, tax returns, employment information, and bank statements. The pre-approval is to give you a high level of confidence that the bank will be willing to lend you money, but it's not an outright guarantee. For a bank to give you an actual approval, they need to know exactly what home you want to buy, and you don't know that yet. You can go to either a mortgage broker or a mortgage professional at a bank for the pre-approval. But what's the difference? Now, a mortgage broker works with a number of different lenders and is able to shop you around as a client to get you a competitive rate and terms, whereas a bank only has what they offer. So why would you go to anyone but a mortgage broker? Well, a mortgage broker has access to many lenders, but not quite all lenders. So there's a high likelihood that they'll be able to get you the best rate, but it's not 100%. Some banks don't cooperate with mortgage brokers, and they can have some specific programs that may be the best choice. This could be for people who are new to the country or are self-employed, for example. So what should you do? Now, if you don't have a lot of free time, just go to a mortgage broker. But if you do have time, you should talk to mortgage brokers and mortgage professionals at banks. Getting a pre-approval doesn't cost you anything, so you're more than welcome to shop around for the best rates and terms. Getting a rate that's just 0.5% better could equate to a savings in interest of over $12,000 over a 5-year fixed term. But just remember, each time you get a hard credit check for the pre-approval, your credit score actually goes down by a little bit. So you wouldn't want to talk to every single mortgage person in the city, but a few are worthwhile. A good mortgage broker or mortgage professional will also talk about the costs associated with buying a home and can tell you about the programs for first-time buyers and down payment assistance programs. Be sure to tell them if you're interested in a condo, mini home, or land. The financing rules and pre-approval amounts will be different compared to a detached or semi-detached home. Feel free to contact me if you're looking for a good mortgage broker or bank contact. Now, once you have a pre-approval or cash, you can go to the next step. Step 2, choosing a realtor. First, there are typically 2 realtors in the sale of a home, a seller's realtor and a buyer's realtor. The seller's realtor works on behalf of and in the best interest of the seller, lists the home and is paid by the seller. The buyer's realtor works on behalf of and in the best interest of the buyer, but is paid by the seller. This means that the buyer's realtor service is effectively free to the buyer on MLS-listed homes that offer cooperating commission, which are nearly all of them. And for situations where that's not explicitly written, there are often solutions. Now, an unrepresented buyer doesn't have to work with a buyer's realtor and can go directly to the seller's realtor and write an offer on the home. But the seller's realtor is not allowed to offer any advice or guidance because you aren't their client. They're still working on behalf of the seller. If you tell them any information which could give the seller leverage, they are legally obligated to pass that information along to the seller. And they can and probably will use that against you. This could be about your maximum budget or your short timeline. Going directly to a seller's realtor as a buyer would be like if you're in a court case as the defendant, and even though you could be given a free lawyer to defend you, you're just going to trust in the prosecution's lawyer to be fair to you. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's one side versus another, but some buyers don't fully understand this distinction. Now, when selecting a realtor, you want to work with somebody you like, can trust, and that has specific knowledge of the market, homes, and industry connections. That's where the real value is. A realtor isn't just someone who opens doors. Now, you're more than welcome to speak with multiple realtors until you find one that you'd like to work with. This also doesn't cost you anything. Once you've found the realtor that you'd like to work with, a working with the real estate industry form is signed, and the buyer's designated brokerage agreement is also signed. This is because you must be their client before they can legally write an offer on your behalf. See my videos on those forms for more information. Step 3, planning, strategizing, and setting expectations. In this step, I'll meet with the client to discuss what their needs are in a home and their timeline. Sometimes this happens in the previous step. Typically, they'll tell me what they need, want, their budget, and areas they prefer. Then generally, I'm able to make a number of suggestions just based on experience as to the type of home and location to best fit those requirements in the current market. And then we need to establish expectations. I'll open up MLS and do a search for homes that fit our criteria that have recently sold. This is because the best predictor for future selling prices is the prices of homes that have recently sold. We can also look at pictures to gauge condition and features, also to set expectations. Now, if no homes in the last 6 months have sold in that budget with those requirements, we know we need to adjust our criteria. And if only one home is sold in that time frame, we need to ensure that a potential 6+ month wait fits our timeline. If it doesn't, it means we need to adjust our criteria. This also means that we need to expect to be very aggressive in our offer if another one comes up in that 6 months. On the other hand, if 10 homes a month sell that could be suitable, we can afford to write less competitive offers and miss a number of them because we know to expect more. Step 4, actively looking. After we've set our expectations, I set clients up on an automatic property search based on that criteria. The instant a home that fits your criteria is listed, you'll automatically be emailed that listing. My advice is to always look at incoming listings as soon as you can, and call, text, or email me when you'd like to see the home or have questions. This is for 3 main reasons. First, because when homes are listed, offers are either welcomed right away or after a period of time. This is known as holding offers. If offers are welcomed right away, the best strategy is to view the property as soon as possible to ensure that you don't miss it and someone else buys it. Now, if offers are being held for 3, 5, or 7 days, you know you don't have to act as quickly. But sometimes when they say they're holding offers, but not strictly, they're flexible to taking an early offer. And in this case, it's best to see it right away too. Now, as a buyer, you don't know whether or not they're holding offers. The vast majority of the time, only realtors can see this information. That's why it's best to talk to me as soon as possible if you see a property you like, so I can get that information to you. The second reason to contact me right away is so that I can double check the listing to ensure that the realistic selling price is within the budget. Back when it was very busy, it was common to list homes for $50,000 to $250,000 less than what the property was probably worth. And there's no use to see a property that has a very high likelihood of selling well beyond the budget. The third reason is so that I can spot any potential deal breakers. Sometimes a waterfront means it borders a swamp, and sometimes a build date of 2015 means that it was just heavily renovated then. But it's actually over 100 years old and all the walls are crooked. It's much better to find that out before so you can save yourself the trip. Step 5, showings. Let's say you've seen a home that you like off of our property search. They're holding offers for 5 days. It'll likely sell within your budget and it doesn't seem to have any obvious deal breakers. What now? We can arrange a showing. I book it through a system very similar to booking a restaurant reservation online. All showings are done alone, so other realtors' showing times will be blacked out because they're not available. I then select one that is available and request that viewing, and then wait for the seller to confirm it. This is typically done in 5 minutes to 8 hours. Sometimes the showings are limited to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or 60 minutes, or have no limit. Now, for a 2,000 square foot home on a city lot, I'd suggest 30 minutes. And for a bigger home and or one that's on a bigger lot, I'd suggest about an hour. After we've made our request and it's been confirmed, we meet at the property. It's best to be 5 to 10 minutes early. That way, if there is a delay like traffic, the worst case scenario is that you'll be on time. If we only have 30 minutes at a property and our start time is cut 10 minutes short, that may not be enough time to make a well-informed decision. During the showing, we'll walk inside and outside the home at your pace to get a better idea of the layout, quality of finishings, and if it fits your needs. Now, the goal isn't to check to make sure everything works. That's the job of the home inspector later, but to look at the fundamentals. Now, we can be looking at homes for weeks or months to find the right one based on the requirements, but we just keep looking until we find the right one. Step 6, offers. Once we found a home that you'd like to make an offer on, just let me know and I can write up the offer. That document is called the Agreement to Purchase and Sale. Everything, including signing, can be done remotely through emails and phone calls. In short, the offer contains the price you'd like to pay, the deposit amount, the conditions, and all the dates to do with the timeline. Offers are often conditional on a home inspection and financing if you need a mortgage, but can be for a number of different reasons too. All offers are also conditional on a lawyer's review of the agreement. Now, if a condition is financing, buying the home is conditional on the bank being willing to lend you the money. If they don't end up lending you the money while it's conditional, the deal would terminate and you would not face any penalties like a lost deposit. A typical conditional period is 5 to 10 business days. This depends on how quickly a home inspector can be booked and how long the lender needs for the actual approval. That's why you need to ask your lender how long they need when you get that approval. The shorter the conditional period, fewer the conditions, and greater the purchase price, the stronger the offer is. As for strength, we decide how strong our offer must be based on our strategy and expectations. Part of the offer is also submitting the deposit. I usually structure my deals so that the deposit is due at the end of the conditional period. That way, if the deal ends up terminating, you don't need to retrieve your deposit money because you never submitted it. I also make the deposit amount about 1% of the purchase price. And to avoid any confusion between the deposit and the down payment, the deposit is the amount of money that the seller's brokerage holds as a goodwill that you plan to follow through with the deal. Whereas the down payment is the amount of money that you're paying the bank that goes towards the purchase of the home. Now, if the deal moves forward, that deposit is rolled into the down payment, so you don't need to come up with extra money. When submitting an offer, we usually get a response within about 24 hours. If there are multiple offers, the seller will likely not counter our offer if we're not first or second place. They just choose the winner. You can watch my video on the Agreement to Purchase and Sale for more information. Step 7, offer acceptance and conditions. If our offer is accepted, we need to work towards satisfying our conditions as soon as possible. If our conditional period is 7 business days, we have 7 business days to be satisfied with all of our conditions. The first thing to do is send all the relevant paperwork to the mortgage broker or professional if you need a mortgage. This is so that the lender can approve the mortgage. It usually takes about 2 to 7 business days. We'll also need to start involving a lawyer to review the documents to ensure that they're satisfied too. Then you'll need to start spending money. A home inspection can cost $450 to $650, with an additional cost for other detached buildings like garages. If the home is on a well and septic system, that'll likely cost an additional $1,000 or so for the water test, well inspection, and septic inspection. I always recommend that the buyers be present for these inspections. Oftentimes, inspection reports can seem very dramatic because the inspector would rather say an issue is worse than it is than say it's better than it is and later be sued. If you're there in person, you usually get a more realistic view of any potential problems. If there are any issues with the home inspection, there is an opportunity to negotiate with the sellers for either items fixed or money taken off of the purchase price. The thing to remember is that this is also based on expectations of the condition of the home and how it's represented. At the end of the day, a used home is a used home and it will have some issues. If a home is represented to be move-in ready and newly renovated, you can be more picky with the issues such as fogged up windows or damaged trim. Whereas if a home is being represented as needing a full renovation from top to bottom, you can't be as picky. It's also not fair to try and ask for money off for issues that would have been obvious during the walkthrough, such as well-worn floors, obvious stains in carpet, or missing doors. Also, sometimes the lender will need an appraisal done on the home. They may charge you $200 to $400 for that appraisal, but it depends on the lender. Now, if the bank approves the mortgage, you're happy with the inspection, and the lawyer is satisfied with the agreement, you can sign Form 408, which makes the agreement firm, and you can submit the deposit. If you try to back out of the deal after this point, you may lose your deposit and be sued. Step 8, waiting for closing. Between the time the offer is firm and you take possession, also known as closing, you'll need to buy a home insurance policy to start on the possession day, open an account with Nova Scotia Power, open an account with Halifax Water if you're on municipal services, and plan for internet hookup the day after closing. Then about 1 to 2 weeks before closing, you'll be contacted by your lawyer, and they'll calculate the final costs of the home and will make arrangements with you to pay them, either with cash if you're a cash buyer, or your cash down payment and the arrangements with your bank. These costs would include 1.5% of the purchase price for the transfer tax, which on $500,000 is $7,500, then about $1,300 to $1,600 for lawyer fees and disbursements, then about $600 for title insurance to record the deed and mortgage, and for the tax certificate. Also the adjustments. Adjustments are effectively reimbursing the sellers for money they've already spent on consumables for you. For example, when a person sells a home, they have to top up the oil tank if it has one. But since they paid for your oil, you have to pay them back. Now, the cost of a 900-liter tank of oil in today's pricing is about $1,800. This would be similar with propane. A 420-pound propane tank would cost about $400. Next is the property tax. Property tax is billed every 6 months and is paid in advance. It's paid in March or April and September or October. So if they paid for 6 months right before you took possession, you would need to repay them for the 6 months. You can see my series on property tax for more information. 6 months of taxes on a $500,000 home could be $2,000 to $3,000, depending on the assessment. Step 9, closing walkthrough. Either the evening before or during the day of closing, often at 9 a.m., a walkthrough will be performed. In short, this is to make sure the home is acceptable and up to the expectations of the buyer. Now, a home inspector's job is to find issues with the home, but they can't inspect what they can't see. So issues may be brought to your attention once furniture is removed. Also, damage could be caused to the home between the time of the inspection and closing. Some examples of potential concerns that could be noted on a walkthrough are damage to walls or floors, notice after pictures or rugs are removed, appliances that don't work anymore but did when the inspector tested them, shingles that may have blown off in a recent storm, and basement leaks after a heavy rainfall. Since the agreement was for the home and the condition during the showing and home inspection, any discrepancy needs to be addressed. This is usually done with money taken off of the purchase price. We'll also go through the home and make sure it's reasonably clean, usually broom swept unless otherwise noted, and we make sure there's no garbage or other objects left behind. Now, once you're satisfied with the home, we notify your lawyer that they have our approval to transfer the money to the seller's lawyer. Then sometime after that, usually from about 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., our lawyer will officially tell us the property is closed and you can have the key and the home is yours. And that's all there is to it. As always, I hope you got some value from this video. My contact information is in the description in case you'd like to work with me to help you find a home. Goodbye.